I'm Jeff Helfrich, State Representative for House District 52. Life's messy, government's messier. When I was on the street, I got to see what worked and what didn't work. And in Salem, I see a lot of things that aren't working. I want to cut through that red tape, get to simpler government, and get to stuff that works for you. Here's our next episode. That's perfect, right? When I first came into the chamber, when I came back, we got to sit next to each other. I used to poke you all the time and prod you, and I really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
It's good seeing you, bud.
You too. Hey, I want to introduce you to the podcast world, to Greg Smith, representative for House District 57, Eastern Oregon's voice. He is the longest serving legislator. He's a small business guy. He was born in Portland, raised in Gresham, now Heppner strong. He's fighting for the rural roots. Let's roll. Greg, you were born in Portland, you lived in Gresham, and now your home base is Heppner. What's one lesson from those Oregon roots that stuck with you over your 24 years in Salem? And why don't you talk about your family a little bit too, because I know that's really important to you.
Sure. The roots go very deep in Oregon. Family came to Oregon in 1857. So I'm a fifth generation Oregonian. And married, have a beautiful wife named Sherry, 5 kids, 4 boys and a daughter. The daughter will be graduating from the University of Arizona here in about 2 months. And the best part is...
You're a proud papa. I can see that right now.
I am.
You're great. Every time you just sit there and smile and light up, you talk about your family. It's
well,
awesome.
Let me tell you why. None of them are in the house anymore. So it's just my wife and I.
Yeah, I've got 11 and 13-year-old home. So now maybe I can see that smile. All right, I get it now.
Yeah. And then 2 grandchildren. And so I'm pretty blessed with a great family. The thing I take away from growing up in the Gresham Barlow area and then moving to Heppner is there's commonalities. There really are commonalities in that we all want good schools. We want safe streets. We want to be able to raise our children in a manner that's based upon our own decisions.
Right.
And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Greg, you've run businesses. You've worked for, at the time, Representative Greg Walden. Mm-hmm. And you, I think, worked on a campaign for Senator Gordon Smith. You hit the House, I believe it was in 2001.
Yep.
And then you are now we talked about it earlier, the longest serving legislator right now. How has that mix of what you've experienced help guide you and simplify your life and look for simple ways to serve your district?
Yeah, the very first thing I'd share with you is you learn that the importance of the dollar. And let me tell you what I mean by that. When I worked for then House Majority Leader Greg Walden, he was a very fiscally conservative individual. And he taught his staff to look for areas where we can reduce waste and bureaucracy. And Gordon Smith was the same way. It was such an honor to campaign for him for the U.S. Senate. As a business owner, I have worked with hundreds and hundreds of businesses, helping them either get off the ground, expand, go in a new direction, and sometimes helping them transfer ownership. And during all of that, again, you learn the value of the dollar and the value of saving and the value of looking for ways to get the most out of the money you work hard for. Yeah.
So Morrow County all the way to Wasco, the rural core of Oregon, I'll call it, because you're right next to me in the district. And so government's messy. We got to cut through the red tape. What is something that, whether it's public safety, it's education, it's jobs, that hits home for your district that you're trying to just get government out of the way so business can do their job? What's one of those things?
Yeah, most definitely. It goes back to the economy. And one of the things, in my view, we need to do, and I think the folks back home would agree, is we need to return balance to our natural resource laws. Okay. Right now, if you look at the laws we're creating in Salem, they don't make sense for us back home. We get a wildfire, and where I come from, folks get their backhoes out, they get their shovels out. The community makes a meal, and we get out there and take care of the fire. Mm-hmm. And here in Salem, that's absurd to them, but it's not to us.
Yeah, I came into your office earlier today to talk to you about an issue, and you were actually on the phone with fire chief at Owasco, and then talking about fire stuff. So that's there. So what a lot of people may not know, and where you're at, committee assignments are everything, and you've been around for a while. You are a co-chair on Ways and Means.
Yes.
And a Republican in the minority, which is a big deal. Yes. And being there's the color of money and how money gets pushed around and stuff. What are some of the big take homes, big things you were able to get for your district that, support the citizens there, the projects, whatever it is? Because I think I can tell you, when I drive from Hood River and I hit into your district, the pavement seems a lot smoother when I roll in your side of the Wasco than it is on my side of Wasco. I'm like, well, how does that happen? Oh, that's right. Greg Smith's there. They're getting those roads paid for them out there. So those type of things.
First of all, I would share with you, our state budget is large. It's $187 billion total funds.
Yeah.
And that's a huge responsibility. And so the first thing I'm always looking for is, how can I reduce the tax burden on folks back home? How can we make sure they get to keep more money in their pocket? But then with that said, I want to make sure they also get their tax dollars back in the form of infrastructure. The money shouldn't always just go to Portland or to Salem or to Eugene. And so I take great pride in trying to assist my communities in getting the funding they need without being exact. I think District 57 is in the ballpark of about $160 million in capital investments that have been returned. You can go to Milton Freewater and you can see a new police station and a new armory.
Yeah, I remember the armory. That was a big one out there, right?
That was important to them. Then you come into Hermiston, and you've got the you've got multiple improvements at the fairgrounds. Umatilla County has one of the finest fairgrounds in the state. You go over to Umatilla, and they're putting in a small business incubator. Yeah. Go down the road to Irrigan, new sidewalks. You go to the Port of Morrow.
You got the Sage Center, right?
We got the Sage Center, yeah.
That's getting expanded too.
That's getting expanded as well, and multiple new roads and infrastructure, water and sewer projects there. Then you go south down into Heppner, and I'll tell you what, Heppner has some of the nicest sidewalks and roads in all of Eastern Oregon, and I'm proud of that.
I will tell you that we hunt out in Heppner. We go out at their coal mine campground, and in Cutsforth Park and all that. And we get it. I didn't know you back then when I was hunting out there, but I'm like, nice little town. They got some good stuff going on here. Oh, nice buildings and sidewalks and roads and the school, all those things. I'm like, now that I'm in the legislature, I'm like, oh, now I know why that is. And so, there's some good stuff. You've got good projects, these infrastructure projects that you've helped with and advocated for the people that you represent, and it's pretty impressive.
I think one of the best ones is, and it's really small, but Jack Henderson, superintendent there in Dufur, came to me and said, you know what, we need some sidewalks to help kids safely get to the school, cross the highway. And we worked with them on that and made that come to fruition. And that's one that stands out in my mind as something that really, really helped the community and helped the kids.
Yeah, I don't think people would realize, oh, it's just a small town. Like, why do we need sidewalks? Kids got to be safe. It's big trucks, cars, not paying attention.
Exactly.
All those things. It's icy out there. You get that frost in the morning, and it's iced up, and you got that black ice. Yeah. Now, is mopping part of yours or no?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's their streetscape projects they have there. A lot of tourism's in there because of the river, right? And we're on the river, and they've got some hunting things out there and opportunities. And that's another thing that stands out in my mind with the Odart Yard there and all that stuff like that. And that's another good.
It's interesting. That actually came about in a collaboration with my former colleague, John Huffman.
Okay.
And at the time, he was representing that area, but I was the senior member on Ways and Means. And so he and I worked really closely to make that happen. So, but again, at the end of the day, it's important to remember, my role is to reduce the size of government and then to make sure my folks' tax dollars get returned back to them.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So behind the gavel, I talk with my police officer friends that's behind the badge, but behind the gavel. And so when we're doing the behind the gavel, what's a story from your business days, from Gresham or even your time in the legislative body that you want to tell people about, that, you know, you're making it hit you hard, that's what drives you to do what you're doing is in the legislative body?
No, I appreciate that. It's actually a business memory that I have. When I was elected to the legislature, I was working for the Port of Morrow, a public port authority. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting in a role of working for a public agency and also serving in the legislature. And so I just started scratching my head and I asked, why can't economic development be privatized? Why does economic development have to be in some county office or in some city office? And so at the time, and this goes back 25 plus years ago, I reached out to the Department of Justice. I reached out to the Ethics Commission, and I said, my education, my work experience is doing economic development. Is there any reason I can't privatize it? And they came back and said, no, that makes sense. If you want to do it, go do it. And so I took it as a great opportunity to follow in the footsteps of Trump and Musk, of privatizing government activity and making it more efficient and costing less. And as much as that's been a great opportunity, it's also caused questions. But at the end of the day, I know I'm bringing efficiency to the state of Oregon.
Yeah. That leads me to my next thing. I appreciate that, because what is your vision for Eastern Oregon? And what I mean by that, we know this mess that's government, that's tangled up, the red tape, the bureaucracy. Where can you or I, or as a legislative body, untangle that and get refocused to get help to your district and all our districts, obviously, but whether it's how to better living conditions, schools, jobs, whatever's really real for that district. What do you think the government can do to untangle this bureaucracy that's just it's a big mess, and I'm tired of the bureaucracy. The bureaucrats got to go. We got to cut some stuff out, right?
There's no doubt about it, and it's pretty cool working with you because you and I are like-minded. You know, in my mind, we need to make sure that we're reducing the size of government. That's number one. If you want to reduce bureaucracy, you have to reduce the size, and that's what you and I are always fighting for there. And then, you know, we have to stand up and say, all right, we'll stand for this, but we're not going to stand for that.
Right.
And point out where those areas in government just don't make sense. And we don't have enough time today to go through the list of areas where we just need to get rid of it, stop it, or just say that's enough.
Yeah. So you're 24 years in the legislature. What is one basic thing that you're still pushing for now in government? I know we talked about reducing government. What's something else that's out there?
And there's two things. The most important thing for me, and really what drives me still, is taking care of those folks in my district that have been wronged by government. There is nothing in the world, and you know this, there's nothing in the world like stepping up and helping a senior citizen who's been wronged, or helping a single mother who's trying to get through an issue, or helping a family try to figure out how do they get their trip permit, whatever it may be. And knowing that you and I are in positions to try and help. That's what drives me.
The constituent outreach.
Most definitely. It's you know, if I never had to go to Salem, this would be the greatest gig in the world. I mean, but we do have to go there. We have to jump in the pit and fight for, you know, our values. But boy, helping folks at home, that's what drives.
Yeah, no, it's good. So I've created my Back to Basics Army, and in doing those things, I'm going to recruit you. You're going to
Which I think is so cool, by the way.
Yeah,
I think it's really cool.
So you're going to be one of the OG original gangsters, the original ones.
Okay.
The original OG one, getting back to basics. But with that, I always ask
we could call that the original Greg if it's OG.
The original Greg. Yeah,
all right, ego there.
Oh, you're killing me, Smalls. But that said, the Back to Basics, we've talked about a lot of stuff, but one thing that people can carry away from this conversation that we're having, about back to basics that you see as a vision and how we just do better for our state, because we are not going in the right direction. We got to change this, right?
That's right. You know, Dr. Stephen Covey wrote this great book called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And we could change that title to Highly Effective Government. And one of the things he talks about is putting first things first. And what I mean by that is, let's prioritize education and healthcare and public safety. And let's get the dollars into those 3 categories. And then we can look at the fluff. Then we can look at those other areas of government and ask ourselves, do we really need it? Do we really need to have these? And are we taking care of those items that we put first? Are we taking care of those first and then deciding what's next?
Yeah, I think that is a great thing. And I think we have to get back to serving people.
That's right.
Not systems.
That's right.
And the system is that bureaucracy, right?
That's right.
So, Greg, I want to say thanks for being on the podcast. I really appreciate you being here.
We're done already?
Yeah.
This was quick.
Well, you've had a lot to say, but we're into this more than you think. We're 45 minutes into this right now.
All right. Well, for your folks that you're reaching out to, I want them to know you're A+. You're a leader in our caucus and in the chamber, and it's awesome to be here, my friend.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You know, being I remember when I talked about becoming a leader, and we had our conversations, you know, during and all that stuff like that. And you supported me, and I continue to appreciate that, but your continued support and help me navigate stuff, because there's things you don't know, there's things you think you know, and there's things that like I didn't see that coming. And you've helped me a tremendous amount in the chamber, and I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, Greg, thank you. On our next episode coming up, it's going to be a surprise guest. With that, we're out.